So I'm Chris Kochs, founder and CEO of RoboSolucio. My background is in product development, most recently in IoT and heading an IoT practice and a robotics practice. We just happened to stumble into robotics while leading the IoT practice. As you know, Internet of Things, IoT, connects to anything right across the internet. So we just happened to start a couple of projects for Shark Ninja and helping them embed video navigation into their robot vacuum, doing a couple of secret projects for Amazon and a couple of others. And of course, working with all the big telco and cable companies on their IoT solutions.
Thanks for that. And do I understand that you're kind of a one-man show right now with regards to the team that's working on this project, or have you recruited some help?
From a technology perspective, that's pretty much true. But with your help, right, with Justin, CP, and Jonathan, and many others, you guys have been very gracious in lending a hand when I get into a bind on coding or bugs or things like that. My wife and I are co-founders of the business, so I head up the strategy, the product, and the technology side of the business today. She's more the finance expert and has a specialty in education and education delivery as well. So that'll play nicely on the education side and the STEM side for Misty in the future as well. So,
very cool.
We are, I'm in the process of evaluating folks for CTO and advisors currently, and then I do have I have engaged a salesperson on the federal side. And I'll tell you a little bit more why the federal side in a couple of minutes as well.
Yeah, it sounds like when we get to the goals. But first, like, what attracted you to the Misty platform?
Great question. So I came up with the concept 3.5 years ago, as my mother went through the whole dementia phase, progressive of moving from home to senior community to assisted living, then to hospice in her final days. She had dementia. So it was a constant, fall, disastrous fall, try to rehab, disastrous fall, rehab, and in a, continuous downward cycle. So I was racking my brain trying to think, come on, we can solve this. We can figure out at least when somebody falls and be able to call out for help, because dementia patients typically fall in the middle of the night when they're most disoriented, and they lay on the ground. If they don't have 24-hour support, they lay on the ground until 8 or 9 o'clock in the morning. And their head split open, they have broken arms, broken hips, and their condition gets twice as bad with every 6 hours that passes if they can't get to the emergency room quickly. So Misty came along. I ran into Tim at a show in the summer last year, and immediately saw the connection, realized the capability and the base platform that Misty provides that we can build upon and create our solution on top of the robot that already, basically is works mobily, and has the functions and the capabilities if we build it and build out the AI capabilities.
So your goal, you could say, was to help improve the outcomes for patients living at home or in places where they're not necessarily 24-hour monitored. How else would you describe your goals?
Yeah, it's enabling elderly to age in place safely, right? So whether that's aging in their home or in a senior community or an assisted living community, they all apply. Of course, they have graduated capabilities and needs the further they're into their cycle. But with more and more seniors aging in place in their own homes, in a dollar-wise, it makes a lot of sense, especially if they own their home and they've paid off their home. They really can't live anywhere else as effectively if they have the tools to help them age safely in their home.
Okay. And so specifically, what are you working on now to advance that goal?
Yeah, so the initial goal was fall detection and being able to call out for help. So that actually, when I entered the innovation competition in Paris for Sierra Wireless, that was the goal, to be able to detect somebody laying in a prone position, which if you're in a senior home, that's a problem. If they're on the floor and they're in a prone position, number one, high level of confidence, at least 90%. Then when you add in auditory and other, other factors, you can get the level of confidence up to 98, 99% that yes, this person has fallen. Now let me call out for help. So you can either do that via Wi-Fi, I guess you could do Bluetooth, but I have a cellular connection with the Sierra wireless board. So that's the initial focus. Our whole world's been turned upside down in the last couple of months with COVID-19, right?
Sure.
So we've made a quick pivot to working with some of the federal agencies and trying to get into, we've applied to several of their programs for the COVID-19 help and to some of the other, annual programs within the federal agencies to detect the top 3 symptoms of COVID-19. So that is elevated body heat, it's chronic coughing, and it's shortness of breath. So those are the top 3 symptoms in 90% of the COVID patients. Then of course there's asymptomatic patients that we still have to find a detection solution for, but this potentially could be, very, very a strong solution, especially for the nursing homes that are most exposed, because the staff and the doctors can remotely control Misty, right, from a safe distance, whether it's from a different room or in the same room from a safe distance, and even employ not only the mobile driving app, but even employing the video streaming capability as well, so that you can see from the robot's perspective.
Well, it's quite timely, and it is opportunistic to try to get in and do that. We could certainly use robots and other things that could help in that capacity. So in the post-COVID world, if that's a thing, or when it's calmed down a bit, how do you see RoboSolucio taking Misty, in what directions? Do you see any like IoT, more connectivity with IoT platforms and things like that?
Yeah, you triggered Misty somehow. A quote post COVID-19. I think what we're experiencing here and what we're seeing is that this is really highlighting the need in senior communities to have a higher level of detection, maybe surveillance. And I've been approaching surveillance from the family perspective first, right? Me as a son who wanted to know, is my mother, is she on the floor? Is she safe? Can I interact with her from remote? Well, we were doing that with the Echo Show. First, we started with FaceTime on the phone, right? Then we went to the Echo Show because it's bigger. And my sister was administering, on her side up in Detroit. But, it opens up that avenue for personal touch, especially if you're remote, you're thousands of miles away, or if there's a health crisis. This just really highlights and accentuates the need to maybe do some monitoring, but at least have that detection capability to support the staff and the doctors. So yeah, that's to me, that's what we're realizing is that, yeah, there always was a place for Misty and a robot in the senior homes. This really just highlights it.
If someone is interested in learning more about RoboSolucio and what you're doing, where should they go?
www.robosolucio.com, and it's RoboSolucio. So or hit my LinkedIn page at Chris, and the last name spelled Kochs. So
Right.
glad to connect to more people in the community, help people out, point them in the right direction. And if there's an opportunity to, team up with somebody, would love to collaborate.